But there's a darker side. And that's what's currently on the screen right now. There's a much darker side. And when you have these chat rooms, when you have these programs that have social interaction with people who your children have never met, there's always the chance of meeting someone creepy. Someone who has very nefarious, ugly intentions with your child.
That's right.
And this is where caution has to be exercised, because just like back in the day when you had those chat rooms where predators would go and pose as children to get other children to do things that no one should ever try to get a child to do, VR offers the exact same thing. In fact, VR is even more enticing because with stuff like VR chat, for example, you could have your kid dressed as whatever character and a predator dressed as a character that is simpatico by canon with that kid. It'd be like your kid dressing up as Cloud and a predator dressing up as Tifa.
Yep. Yeah.
And, ooh, I mean, that makes my skin crawl.
Right. And so there is a responsibility on these chat services to put in controls so that that shit is very, very difficult to take place, to happen.
Yeah.
And, you know, you're doing a service not just to the children, but to the rest of us as well.
Correct.
Because I don't want to see and hear all that shit.
Right. You know, if I get onto a place like VR chat, Rec Room, any kind of social interaction, VR especially, you want to interact with people. When we get on here, we interact with, like Teal and I interact with each other, we interact with Boo Boo, we interact with Giba, you know, different friends, McBacon, etc. We come to just interact. And, you know, if we had a child, the child would only be in private rooms with us and our friends, people who we have vetted. But there's no vetting process for the public.
No, there isn't.
And these programs have very little in the way of controls. It's like, hey, here's the mute button, here's the block button. But think about it logically. Do children have that level of self-awareness to just block someone immediately? Or would they be enticed? You know, because these predators, these ugly people, are really, really good at what they do.
Yeah, it's unfortunate.
So, and I mean, this is not an easy topic to talk about, guys, but it needs to be. Because now more than ever, it's easy for someone to put on a mask that can entice and harm someone who's innocent.
So, yeah, what do you guys think?
Yeah.
You know, the article picks on VR chat, but there's so many more other chat programs that are just like it that have the same lack of oversight and control.
Right.
You know,
right.
It's not enough to have a block button or a report button.
Right.
That's great. Okay. But you shouldn't have to be exposed to that in the first place. And unfortunately, all the public rooms, it's just like the Wild Wild West. A friend of ours recently went into a public room and got absolutely razzed and harassed to the point where he just fled. He left.
Because the avatar he chose wasn't in keeping with all the whatever it was the other people had. His avatar was something that he felt comfortable with. It was an expression of his virtualness. He did it for fun. And people treated him very reprehensibly.
And that's an adult.
That's an adult.
So you can imagine what that will do to a child.
Yeah, could you imagine a child walking into a room dressed as, let's just say Sephiroth, okay? And everybody's like, oh my god, it's another Sephiroth, you know, you know, and they just basically bully the child. You know, and this is like a 10-year-old boy.
Yeah.
We know bullying, and cyberbullying especially, is extremely hard to stop, and all bullying is extremely devastating. So now you have a kid in an environment where people are literally getting up in his face, and he can't do anything about it. It's not like if a kid on a playground goes up to another kid and starts to bully him, the first kid has the option, they don't always, but he has the ability to push or run or something. Go to an adult. Something. They have an option. In VR chat, the only thing they can do is take off the headset. And let me tell you, for someone who was bullied as a kid, when you're in the process of being bullied really hard, you do not think of that. You just think of a way to make them stop hurting you.
Yeah. And as Burke says, yeah, kids already do mock each other on Fortnite. If you have a default Fortnite skin,
Yeah,
you know,
you're lame.
You're lame
Lamer.
and all the other stuff.
Lamer.
Yeah.
Lamer. Where's my forehead? Lamer.
You know, and as we approach these are, I think, very urgent concerns that should be addressed by game companies, developers, parents, and etc. Because as we march towards this metaverse thing that everybody wants to construct, it's just going to get ramped up. All the hate and the ugliness and the predation.
Yeah.
We've got to put things in place now.
Right.
And I see that, you know, chat is like, yeah, we, you know, they're agreeing with a lot of suggestions.
Yep.
They've come up with some good suggestions, and it is really a partnership between developer, parent, and program.
Yes.
Platform.
Yes.
And it needs to be a partnership. And as Steele said, unfortunately, there is some baked-in antagonism that has been around for the last 25 years.
Yes.
Of parents versus developers.
Yes. You know,
because of non-transparency.
Right. Ever since, like, you know, GTA San Andreas and, oh, you can get a blowjob from a prostitute. You know,
ever since Tipper Gore,
yeah, people have been losing their almighty shit, and you know, I can understand the concern, but when you antagonize a group of people enough who create the product you're antagonizing them about, they're not going to just bend. It is not human nature to bend to bullying. It is human nature to fight back, especially to perceived injustices. And the gaming industry, the developers as a whole, don't want to put up with that bullshit. Yeah. There are developers out there who are very parent-minded. But any developer who gets pushed around by parental units are going to push back because they're the ones creating the game, not the parent. Yeah, I understand Rack. You know, Rack is saying, I just cannot think of a good system that can be used to limit behaviors of individuals to protect kids while also granting freedom. There is no system.
There isn't.
It doesn't exist. You can't have a control system like a program. This is not something that requires programming. This requires social programming. This is a social issue. This is a slow burn of raising awareness. Communication and transparency, especially from the developers, and education. The more a parent learns, the more informed decision a parent can make. There's going to be parents who are going to be like, nah, whatever. But most parents aren't. Most parents are going to be like, hold on, Hoss, that's my kid. Let me get the next screen.
You know,
good.
Yeah, I think that. This is just my opinion, but in keeping with the whole partnership idea between platforms, developers, and parents, those of you who are in, let's say, more than two categories, you're a parent and you're a developer. You're a parent and a user. You're a parent and work under a platform. You can go a long way, I think, to start pushing in the direction of let's all work together. Because you definitely have a pony in this race.
Absolutely. Social problems require social solutions. And it needs to start with someone. Why not just have it start with the developer? You know, all you developers out there who are watching Studio Blue, I personally challenge you to start being as transparent as possible with what's in your game. Don't hide it. In fact, don't hide it, crow it, so that parents will know exactly what you're making. From, scenes with suggestive sexual themes to things that might be triggering. And actually, the RPG Maker community, which we're a part of, is really good about that. Like, if a game deals with a sensitive topic like offing oneself, if we say that out loud, YouTube breaks our face off. So, taking oneself out of the equation, for example. The games we've played that deal with that subject matter, the developers have been very transparent.
Yes.
Things, mental health issues, etc. So my challenge to you guys is list all the stuff in your games that you wouldn't think that a child shouldn't have access to, just off the cuff without at least the parent talking to them. And make sure it's listed on your game page. Make sure it's listed on your forum post. Make sure it's listed when you talk about it in a Discord. It's got to start somewhere. So let it start with you.